All right, all right. So, Death Row. It's been a while.
Howdy, y'all.
Yeah, hopefully you all can hear us. Say something again for me real quick, Death Row.
Testing, testing.
All right. I think we're good. Hopefully we all sound good. So, we had a little bit of a hiatus in our podcast, but and we should also address that you don't have a cam at the moment, which is fine. This is a little bit more of an informal podcast. I think more just chatting than podcast, but we're gonna be doing something pretty soon, right, Death Row?
Yes, yes, we are going to be doing a bit of a challenge.
Yep, the Pokemon series. So we sort of discussed the best way to do it, which games to do it, and I think might as well just do the new game, even if there are some concern, or not really concerns, but some questionable technical issues with the current game. But yeah, I think I've never played a Pokemon game, but you're a longtime fan. Is that correct, Death Row?
Yeah, I've been playing them since the first one. I don't think I've missed a single game, so
You haven't missed a single game.
nope.
If I knew more about Pokemon, I would try to dig up like a really obscure. Oh, did you play Pokemon Green? Did you play
Ah,
Pokemon Green?
yeah, actually, I own it. I own Pokemon
Ah,
Green.
oh, god damn it. I thought I had you at that one. Okay, whatever. Anyway, so my history with Pokemon, I never played any of that shit. Now, I will bring up I was gifted Pokemon Blue long ago when it was new, when I was really young. Um, I did not comprehend turn-based or RPG-like games, and I could not figure it out. I was too young to figure out a game that wasn't a platformer. That's really the only kind of games I've played. So I was trying to understand. A lot of my friends were into it, but I wound up trading Pokemon Blue with my cousin for Mario Brothers Deluxe, which was Mario Brothers
Oh,
original.
that's
I don't regret
horrible.
that. I don't regret that trade because that game was not just a port. It had a lot more to it. However, I
Isn't
couldn't
that the
get into
one?
Pokemon.
That's the game that they added Luigi into. And isn't that the game where the sprites are so small that you can't see anything?
I didn't have issue with it.
I re
Well,
I think that's the one with the
whatever.
sprites that are really
Oh,
tiny. So you
forget
made a
about my
terrible trade.
trade. I all I know is all I'll tell you is that I don't regret my trade. And but so to get back into our a Pokemon challenge, so our plan, and we would ask for people to opinion on our Discord for what we plan to do is we're going to be rivaling each other. Like I'm Ash or I'm Red. You're that asshole Blue or Gary, because you're the longtime fan. I'm the first time player. However, I am better at video games than you. I believe I can take you in my first bout of Pokemon. You
So
scared?
so basically, this is just like the TV show.
Pretty much. Pretty much. So yeah, our we try to have a good standardized way to do it. This particular Pokemon is going to be a little difficult because it's open world, but that will also give us more flexibility to, I guess, play with the rule set. So I was graciously given a list of the gyms in love from lowest level to highest level by T-Trax. So what we plan to do is every second gym, and I think there's like 8 gyms. So every second gym, we would fight each other as rivals, and we'll tally like every time we get a win. We would try to line up our play time and like a somewhat similar cap of levels for our Pokemon, at least initially. And hey everyone as well. I forgot to call people out. Elm, Dan, Ryan, Goff, Grand. If I miss anyone, I do apologize. But to get back on what I was talking about, we're gonna every second gym we're gonna fight, and then after the end game, we will fight again. So a total of 5 between us. So best of 5.
If we
Hopefully, it's
if we
not
have
the.
any if we have any
Hmm?
like Pokemon fans out there, it would be really interesting on how you guys think we should do this. So, like, what's to stop GK from just sitting there playing all night long, being at the second gym, but getting his Pokemon to like, I don't know, level 40. Let's
I'm a
just say I'm making up an
streamer.
example. So
Everything is eyes on me. I have to worry
yeah,
about you're not streaming. So how do I know you won't like?
You know,
Thank God there's no Pokemon Home. You can't bring in your OP as shit team that you had since the beginning.
yeah. I mean, I feel like we got to make some sort of rule on like, hey, how do we limit this so that our Pokemon have to be, a certain level or something like that. GK had suggested that we add up all 6 Pokemon's levels and we say, okay, it can't be higher than, I don't know, 80
Well,
for
what
for the
I was
second game,
saying
or
is that there should be like either a 10 to 20 point differential between us, or maybe I don't know if that's too big of a gap. But it should be like, at least for like the first 2 or 3, it should be level. And then at that point, we decided if we want to drop a Pokemon from our team and pick up a new Pokemon, then you incur that risk. However, I think in this game, you can find higher level Pokemon in the wild. Because I was told that even though this game is open world, if you travel to a late game region, you're going to get stomped on by like a level 70 Diglett. And,
that's
that's the
interesting.
risk you incur. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Would love some suggestions from the chat though. So I'm curious what
yes.
how they
I
think.
think the one thing we will announce is our starter picks. So you decided on your starter, right?
Yes, I have to say, ever since the very first game, which I've played, like I said, I've played every mainstream Pokemon game, I have always picked the fire starter. So once again, I will be picking the fire starter.
I'm
Which
usually with that. I usually prefer fire because I like to burn shit. But it's sometimes a design of a Pokemon or a certain typing would make me prefer it. I think of all the starters, I rather like the idea of Fennekin and it becoming fire psychic. I like psychic, the idea of psychic types. And keep in mind, I don't know shit about Pokemon. I just like the idea of certain typing. I also don't really like the design of Delphox. I just like the typing. But for this particular game, I rather like the Weed Cat, and I kind of like the dark typing it turns into. However, that final stage design, I mean, I don't really like any of the final evolutions of any of the Pokemon. But
I
I'm sticking with Weed Cat.
I just
I can't even bother to remember its name. It begins with an S.
well, I do want to throw it out there that so typically this is always how I do things. I do not look up anything. So for the people out there that are saying, "Oh, you're talking about such and such a Pokemon," I have not looked up any of the names. I have not looked up any of the like gyms. Like I literally know nothing about the game because I like to take a '90s approach where, just like how it
No
was in
internet.
in the original games where you had no internet, you kind of had to figure it all out yourself. That's the kind of approach I like to take with
Yeah.
these games. So, if anybody
Dan
gets
pointed
mad
out
that
the
we're
name.
oh,
Spara Gatto. I can read. That also according to Gran, Mouscarada screams GK. Well, I don't know. And Golf is with me with Psychic type for the win. Which also I want to bring up that all the gyms are usually, like frequently, the gyms have a typing theme or whatever.
yep.
Now, in the anime, they talked about how some people are like type specialists, but I feel like if you're a type specialist as a player, you're at a huge disadvantage. I see little reason why anyone would opt to be a type specialist unless they're doing some kind of challenge run.
Yeah, I
Like, would
mean,
you ever be a type specialist, Death Row?
like when I was the best one I always talk
Gym
about,
leader, yeah.
when I was playing the original games, Pokemon Red and Blue, which are not balanced by any means, but um, I used to I used to just specialize in fire Pokemon, really. But the thing is that you have a good amount of diversity in fire Pokemon, right? Because if you have Charizard, you have flying type moves, you have fire
That
type
wasn't
moves.
originally the case, though.
Well, no, he didn't have a flying
Yeah,
attribute,
wasn't
but
dual typing not a thing until like Gen 2 or 3?
right, but he still had flying moves. You could still teach him fly. You could still teach him wind
Oh, you
attack.
can teach different like typing moves. Okay, I get what you're
Yeah,
saying.
yeah, exactly. So, you know, um, so you had that kind of stuff, and I would have fire types, but some fire types could learn moves that helped me. That like I normally fire
We
would be weak against. So
from what a little I understand of Pokemon is like you need to have some kind of coverage for your team,
oh,
and
absolutely,
certain
yeah.
moves to cover a particular Pokemon's weakness. I
The more
kind of get
diverse, the
that.
better.
Now,
Yeah.
yeah, there's a couple of uh things with the gameplay I still have to understand. Like I've never been a fan of like the 4 moveset. However, I understand the game was built from the ground up with that idea. I also don't like how the Pokemon forget the moves if you choose a different move for it. I wish it was more modular where you can swap them in and out, but again, I understand why that makes the game too easy. And I think I've been told that the games were generally pretty easy as is, at
I
least
think
in terms of the main story and fighting the AIs.
from what I remember, I think on the newer games, it's easy to swap those old moves back in. Like, I think you can. I forget how they do it, but they easily make it so that you can get the old moves if you want. If I'm not
Okay.
mistaken, the
Yeah.
the one thing I found with the swapping, like saying you want to trade one of your old moves, is you're always left with a tough decision. And I like that where
Yeah,
you don't.
according to Dan, apparently we can swap the moves, swap them in and out.
Oh, okay.
So
See,
that's
to me, that takes a little of the like hard decision out of it.
I hate that
Um,
shit because as someone who's never like every Pokemon game is like someone's first Pokemon game. That then it's like you don't realize you made a horrible decision and it's too late, especially when in terms of your starter, which I think generally speaking your starters are usually very effective Pokemon and you have to like make them the
yeah.
best of your team more often than not. But yeah, I also I don't want to guarantee this. I might accept call-ins for other people to give their thoughts on Pokemon or give us ideas on the challenge. We'll do that a little later. Also, in terms of the challenge, we're gonna do best of 5, and we also talk about alternate means like doing showdown between us, and maybe we'll have like supplementary challenges after the fact because showdown will be like very easy and interesting to do, pure Pokemon battling sim and not actually raising and catching. And also the punishment, which I talked a bit about before, and I initially have a punishment in mind that I really don't want to do. So if I feel like I have a reasonable chance of beating Death Row here, I will reveal the punishment and then we'll let things fall as they may. However, if enough people whine today, I might consider revealing it now and then I might be really fucking stuck. So I kind of be
I
cautious about that.
I don't think it's very fair that I don't know what this punishment is going to
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
be.
Okay?
I'm just competing in the challenge, but I guess it doesn't. I don't need to know what the punishment is.
And we already got people saying reveal it now. I'll think about it. All right. Well, so I want to transition from that to I guess our histories on the Pokemon series. And we obviously we have like a very different history. You're a longtime fan. I'm not. Did I already talk about how oh no, we did. I traded it in. So that was my first experience. Is that I had Pokemon Blue and I got rid of it because I couldn't understand it. And beyond that, and how? What about you? Do you have anything to add to your personal general history of Pokemon, or was it just you were always there at the beginning and
Well, I was
it
always there
was
from the beginning. I originally started out with Pokemon Blue. That was actually my very first game I ever played was Pokemon Blue. Um,
really
yeah, at 5 years
interesting?
old, I got a Game Boy Pocket. If anybody remembers the Game Boy Pocket, it was the original Game Boy,
Mildly
just in a
smaller.
smaller, smaller
Mildly.
factor.
I remember it was
Um,
mildly smaller.
uh, Mine was blue, so it matched the exact color of the blue cartridge, which was so cool. Um, and yeah, I mean, for me, remember, this is a time where there wasn't internet. So you had to just identify all 151 Pokemon on your own. And if you never
Oh,
saw a Pokemon, you didn't know it existed. So for
I
example, I remember
yeah.
being at like a party, like a party for a kid, and he talks about this Pokemon that was a bull. And I'm like, a bull? What are you talking about? I don't know any bull Pokemon. Well, it turned out to be Taurus, which is like a very, that's like a number 130, something like that. I just didn't know it existed because it's just rare in Pokemon Blue. I think you only find it in the Safari Zone. So,
Yeah.
back then it was just different. You didn't know these Pokemon existed unless you saw them, which is just to me such a cool concept, which is why I still
Also,
try to replicate that.
don't forget the version specific Pokemon, which I've never really liked
Well,
that idea. At least back then, it was like
I
if you wanted all the Pokemon,
yeah,
like you
I
either
was
needed
gonna
to buy the other one or have friends who would be willing to trade for you. And back then, that was kind of a bigger deal because I don't know if you had multiple save slots back then. So why would
no,
anyone like go out of their way to catch these things? And then they could
yeah.
train them like shit, like give them bad moves, and you couldn't undo it. There's a lot of trust involved in that.
Well, yeah, that's what I was going to get to next. when I was a kid, my cousin had Pokemon Red. That was the only person I know who had Pokemon Red. So you just kind of had a hope that your cousin was going to give you the Pokemon that you were missing. Um,
And you
a
can't get all
lot
the
of the
starters
time,
easily without
right? Can't get
trading.
the starters easily. Yeah, you had to know two
And some
other
Pokemon
people
only
besides yourself.
evolve via trading. That's also a
Exactly.
piss off.
Like
And back then, you
Kadabra
need to
for
buy a wire. Try explaining that to your parents. Like we bought both you kids the game, and you have your own Game Boy. Why do I need to buy more shit for you?
yeah.
Also, Dan brings up that Ash catches 50 of them. Which, fun fact, I believe that episode never actually aired in the US. I don't, unless it got re-released. There's a lot of weird things with the anime. We can talk about the anime a little later, but yeah.
Yeah,
And hey,
yeah.
Cats in the Bag, how you doing? Whole group of us had them. Yeah. Oh, in my particular neighborhood, and I don't know if this applies to you too, Dan. We were very spread out, and it was hard to actually meet up with people outside school.
Yeah,
So
in
it
our
was like
area, the
couldn't
houses
go out
can
and
be
hang
kind
out.
of spread. Yeah, and you have to like go on the road to visit your friend's house, so it just doesn't happen. Pokemon was a
Yeah.
bit of a problem in school because the teachers would usually
Teachers
take your
hated
Game
it.
Boy away. Yeah, they hated it
Oh yeah.
because
Jeez.
it was involved a lot of trust. You literally had to trust that somebody was going to give you
Fights
back your
broke out.
Pokemon. Yeah, yeah, yep. I can't
Oh
tell
man,
you how
I'm
many
glad.
times people were like, "Oh, trade that Pokemon to me. I just want to register it in my Pokedex, and I'll trade it right back." And then you never got it back. You never got it
Especially
back.
the little shits, because everyone was like always willing to steal back then without consequences.
Yeah.
People try. Some of my friends try to get me into Pokemon, and I just I never got into it. I did watch the anime. The anime was a fine show. I don't know if you have much history with the anime or your thoughts on it.
When I was a kid, I was obsessed with the anime. For me, the anime was like one of the coolest things. It was my
That was
first
my
exposure
exposure to
to.
Pokemon.
It was my exposure to anime. Um, so
Very entry level anime.
yeah, very entry level. But that was like that's how you discovered the Pokemon that you hadn't discovered yet in the game. It was through that anime. So it was very exciting, very fun to watch.
Oh boy, like people bringing up random shit. Like I remember some of my friends complained about that Snorlax and no one knew how to move it. I
I
don't
mean,
know if
to
the
me,
game ever
isn't
hint.
that such a cool concept that they had the Snorlax in the game and
Why not just throw a
they
Pokeball at it? Doesn't the game say like you hit this little ball and it absorbs the Pokemon's energy? And why can't you just throw a Pokeball at the thing? Ash did that in the anime. I remember when Snorlax fell asleep. Which there's like another weird thing is that certain gameplay mechanics make sense in the game, but I think are kind of weird to be in the anime. Like I like the Pokemon have are like actual characters and they have personality. They really don't as much in the games. I think maybe later on they kind of fix that with like a chosen partner. But I always found it weird that you can just keep the Pokemon in the Pokeball. Like, what goes on in there? Did they ever allude to like what it's like in the Pokeball? What if a Pokeball's lost, or what if a trainer just sort of forgets about it in a drawer somewhere, or a trainer dies out in the wild and they're what happens to the Pokemon in the Pokeball? I think there was some vague implication that a Pokemon can leave at will, and they do in the anime a lot. They just pop out of their balls whenever they want. But there's a lot of weird questions. Why does a Pokemon follow your orders of a trainer that beat its ass and hurt it, and then they're just immediately cool? That seems kind of strange to me. You think they'd be pissed and want to leave?
Well, the show always made it really funny when Ash had to let a Pokemon go. They made this
It was
whole
a big
big thing
deal.
about it. Yeah, like he lets
The
his
Butterfree.
Butterfree go.
I remember
Yeah,
that. Like he said, he'll meet him again.
yeah.
Spoiler alert: they never meet it again. Butterfree, I'm pretty sure is probably long dead because it's a bug. Which, oh, by the way, in the Pokemon world, you got to think about how terrifying that world actually is with these crazy powerful Pokemon, and they let 10-year-olds go out in the wild to catch these things. How many 10-year-olds never come back? Also, if you don't like bugs, can you imagine a giant ass moth or something? How creepy that would be. Is it a crime? Is it like Pokemon abuse if you kill a bug Pokemon? How does that work?
Yeah, these are all great points. As a kid, I didn't think of these things, but you make good points.
Oh, Dan brought up that the Pokemon, you earn the Pokemon's respect by beating its ass. Which I guess earning their respect. I guess actually, I guess Pokemon don't immediately always follow your orders. If you remember from the anime, Charizard was a was a sassy fuck, so he wouldn't listen to Ash for a while. And in the games, if you happen to have a very high level Pokemon, if you grind too much, I think the Pokemon stop listening to you because you need to earn certain badges, so you don't just steamroll the early game. Although it is kind of easy to steamroll the early game anyway. I guess they do kind of bring that up. I don't know if that's still a thing.
Yeah. Does
With
anybody know if
Pokemon.
that's still a thing in this most current game, Scarlet and Violet?
Like if you go to end game and you throw a Pokeball and through RNG you happen to catch a full health Pokemon, like does it like refuse to listen to you if you have like a level 70 whatever in near the end game?
I have to
I
imagine they
wonder.
have that. Otherwise, the game would just be too simple.
Scarlet and Violet is different according to John. But according to Grand, it will not listen to you. Okay, so we got to be careful with our leveling and grinding our Pokemon up. So we again in our Discord, if you have some ideas or as we do it, to sort of let us know how to handle our plan with our challenge, so to speak. So
Yeah, to
yep.
me, like so for example, I remember one time I was just trying to be I was goofing around, and I took like a level 100 Blastoise, and I started the game with 11 level 100 Blastoise, and although it didn't listen to me a lot of the time, it still destroyed everything. Because eventually it does listen to you like once. I think it has like a 30% chance of
Oh
listening to
wait.
you, something like
Oh
that.
really? That's how that works? I thought it just straight up refused to do anything.
No,
It
no,
actually was just wild and did whatever it wanted. That's actually kind of interesting. So it'd be kind of
yeah.
risky.
Yeah, it's
Because
like a risk, exactly. Which so, I don't want that to be part of our challenge. For example, if I wanted to grab all my Pokemon from Pokemon Home, it's not. I know it's not there yet. The support's not there. But if I
it will be there
wanted to,
soon, apparently.
yeah, like I guess I could. But the thing is, I don't think that's fair. So how can we make it so that that doesn't happen?
And Dan says that the gym leaders don't know what level you can catch after you beat them. Okay.
Yeah,
Good
that's
to
usually
know.
how it
Good to
goes.
know.
It's usually how it goes. Yeah. Okay. All right. Cool.
All right then. So if there's any revisement to how this like our method, every two gyms we fight until the end game, after the end game, then after our in-game rival fight, and then we fight again. Now, I don't know if there's like a side content, because I do know that there's more than just the gyms in this new Pokemon game. I don't know if we want to incorporate that. I don't know if any of them are required, or if they are optional, if we just want to kind of skip them and just stick to the gyms and catching. I don't know how we would work in that extra shit, because I talked about how I wanted to have a podcast episode of your numerous shitty opinions. One of your shitty opinion is that you think side content in all games is a waste of time and only stick to the main quest line or the main story.
Yes.
Isn't that
Yes.
right?
I definitely feel that way. I don't ever do side content in any game. So yeah, I even in Pokemon, I would not be doing it.
God damn, what a shitty opinion. Oh God.
It's always I find side content is usually very half-assed. So I don't care to do it.
Well, it depends on the game, but sometimes it's not. Oh my, that whatever. We can't go down that rabbit hole of your numerous shitty opinions. All right, and just a gamer, John, I would recommend getting your ride Pokemon to at least the point where you can climb the mountains and stuff. Oh yeah, we have I think what they refer to as a pocket legendary, that weird bicycle thing that's in the red. You're getting red, and I'm getting violet. Is that correct?
Well, I actually ordered both of them, so we can do it however you want, whatever you prefer.
Okay. Well, I would only get one. I also found out if we're in the same game world, both of the version specific Pokemon will appear for both of us, so we could actually just get by on one copy.
That's very cool. I'm glad they did that.
Yes, but yeah, I think I prefer the look of Violet version myself. And I don't know if this is kind of cheating. I did glance. I didn't look at the stats or movesets, but I did glance at the roster of Pokemon to see what's there and like what's being brought from the past gens into this one. You haven't done that, right?
I have not done that, and I won't be doing that. That's something I like to be a complete mystery. I think that's kind of like fun.
Okay, then, because it's like you try to build up your team and then you're never sure what Pokemon to add, and then you find a Pokemon way late. Yeah, I don't know like how many Pokemon are considered late game Pokemon that you can't get until much later, but
yeah. I mean, and I already have. So I have every Pokemon in Pokemon Home from previous to this generation. So when they do finally add home support, I'm kind of curious how I'll make my team, but that's
Well,
later on.
obviously they can't have all the Pokemon. They had to specifically animate all these Pokemon. I do
Yeah.
know like a lot of the like a lot of like almost all the starters. Most of them I think, possibly all of them are going to be compatible and all that. So
Yeah,
and
I have
people
to
hacks the
say,
game to add these Pokemon that are compatible, but they're not in the game naturally yet.
yeah, I mean, they will be, obviously. I have to say, Sword and Shield, although I really enjoyed it, they did a very bad job about adding previous generations. Um, there was a lot of Pokemon
It's
that you just couldn't add. So
Now, we can talk about how Game Freak are sometimes lazy fucks because they rush their games out. When they make a new game with these 3D models, of course it's going to take work to make those models,
yeah,
and the animations for it. But I talked about this before, and I think we talked about this as well. They release these games on a yearly basis, and I honestly think it would do the series good if they took like a 2, 3, possibly even 4 year long hiatus, just so they can make a new Pokemon game with like more designs that are like less weird looking and maybe more polished. There's minimal voice acting in this game, which is annoying. You're going to be doing a lot of reading if you care about the story. I don't know how in depth the story is, but I hate that shit. Also, the Pokemon cries, I think they literally just sound like like the Game Boy cries, which is an aesthetic choice I don't mind, but you only get to hear what the Pokemon really sound like in the anime. It's like it's a big deal when a Pokemon's revealed in the anime because you actually
well,
get to hear what they sound like.
I guess, but let's be honest, they just repeat their name over and over. They sounded always pretty dumb.
Well, yeah, and it's also weird that in different languages they have different names. Oh, sometimes, not all Pokemon. They sound different. So it's like, so if in this game's world, if a Pokemon's from Japan, they say their Japanese name, but if you take that same Pokemon and they were born and raised in the America equivalent or the European equivalent of the Pokemon world, do they just say a totally different name? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, yeah.
Also, in the anime, why was Meowth able to learn to speak, but like no other Pokemon can? They make it clear that they
I,
understand human
I'm pretty
speech
sure
very well.
yeah, I do believe they explained that. I don't
There
remember
is
the
an
reasoning,
episode,
but
but it's just like he listened in to like a speech class, and that was all it took. And like, I don't know. You ask too many questions with the Pokemon world, and it gets a little crazy.
I was never
Um,
one to ask. To me, I just enjoy it for what it is. So
Also, to go back on Game Freak being lazy fucks, this game has some technical issues, pop-ins, and iffy
it has a
graphics and
lot
bad
of
frame rate.
glitches from what I've seen in reviews. Yeah.
Hopefully, there's no like game-breaking shit and all that. But yeah, we'll deal with it as it comes. Maybe the game has been patched a bit to be a little better, more smooth, more clean. Maybe.
As time
Um,
goes on, I bet it. Yeah, I'm sure it does. Yeah.
yeah. Well, do we want to bring up the story of how you tried to drag me into Pokemon all those years ago?
Yeah. So, I'm sure GK has never told this story, but um, we've tried this before, long ago, before GK did streaming.
We tried to
We
rival
actually
each other.
we tried this once before. So
Didn't
we
work out.
had we attempted to do this, but in old-fashioned form, where you had to do a link cable.
Game Boy
Um,
Advance.
we tried this on Game Boy Advance with Pokemon Fire Red, which to me, I think that's probably my favorite Pokemon game is Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf
Hmm.
Green. That's the other version. It's just a
We
remake
all
of the
had Game Boy
first
Advances at
Pokemon.
the time.
Yeah, yeah. So,
Because you and our other coworker, our third party, you were both big Pokemon fans, and I talked about how I
yeah,
never really did, but I'd be interested in trying it. And then the issues we ran into getting the copies, which a little bit show and tell. I still have mine. This is the
do we have
totally
do we
legit
have any
copy.
do we have any hardcore Pokemon fans out there? GK, show your
This
copy.
is
Come
an
a little closer to the
official.
camera.
This is an official game that is legit, and the box I long since thrown out totally didn't look like scanned shit. But
If
yeah,
anybody's a hardcore fan, they'll know that is totally fake because it's red. The copy of Fire Red was always orange, so that's
yeah, a
really
little
funny.
orange tint to it. I don't know if like the
Yeah,
camera shows it well, but yeah. And do you remember we bought it from some guy, three copies, and the guy advertised it as legit. And then do you remember that
Yeah.
well, you bought them and we just comped you the money for our copies. You complained about it and got a partial refund. Remember that?
Yeah, yeah. This is back in the days of like dark eBay. eBay back then was like a little bit different than it is now. He
Oh, and
advertised, and I'm
Goff
sure he
brought
was
up
allowed
it's
to do
not
it.
transparent. This is transparent. But yeah, go on.
Oh, yeah, good point on that one. Yeah, he advertised that they were completely real, 100% legitimate, and when we got them, I was like, "What the hell is this? This is not what I ordered."
The boxes were shitty too. I remember that.
Yeah, yeah. GK says there were boxes. I don't remember the boxes, but I just find it so
You
funny. And he
speaking of
only
you not
gave me,
remembering.
if I
Oh, sorry,
remember,
go on.
he only gave me a small refund. It wasn't even like that big. The games were like, I want to say they were about $18 a piece or something. Um, and he only gave me like a $1 refund per game or $2 refund per game. So
Really? That's it? You
yeah,
accepted that?
well,
Oh, whatever.
I don't
Yeah,
know if
but
I have
I
much
also
choice.
you said you don't remember this, but I remember when I brought up I had this thing, the Game Boy Advance Game Shark, because you guys wanted to hack the game to give you all the starters and like regional, like version specific Pokemon.
Yeah.
Um, and I lost the software disk, so we couldn't get this to work. But we tried it. We tried it. Now, but anyway, do you want to talk about what ultimately became of our little Pokemon challenge? Because I don't think we ever had the chance to fight. I fought our third party guy once, but then things sort of turned sour. Do you remember what happened
We
there?
actually kind of organized it very similarly to what we're doing right now, where we
Yeah, I
said
think it was
every
like
every
every gym we would.
yeah, we discussed every gym, which I think is a little much, but
Game
we
was linear
tried.
though, it was easy.
Yeah, yeah, we tried to do it, and it went exactly as I expected. Where and this is exactly how it used to go back on the playground when I was a kid. The coworker
Except we
kind
were
of just
grown ass men.
yeah, the coworker
But
kind of just
continue.
took the coworker kind of just took the link cable and never gave it back. So,
He got
um,
fired, and we never saw him again.
yeah, yeah. So, uh, needless to say, that did not go as planned.
No, and I remember like my team was horribly underleveled when I fought our coworker. I begged him to pick like some secondary pocket characters to sort of bring him
And see,
to my level.
this is why I want to have some sort of rules, because what that coworker did is he
He
just sat
grinded to
and
hell.
he grinded the hell out of his Pokemon, and I
He
just
had like Dragonite. Like, where the fuck do you even get that?
I don't want that to be what happens on this challenge. So I want to
Yeah, I
come up with
especially
some
don't
sort of
want that to
rules
happen to
where this
me
is
with my
okay.
punishment I haven't planned, which I
Yeah,
may or
the
may not
punishment
reveal.
that I don't even know about. I mean, how is that fair?
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Okay? Don't worry
Oh
about it.
well, it's
It's
fine. I'm
fine.
sure I'll win anyway. So
Oh, okay then. So, uh, oh yeah. Well, Dragonite, Dragonair. I don't fully remember their names. Um, GK can't EV train. Uh, and be a
oh
sweaty try.
well,
Thankfully, you don't EV train. You do the
so
bare basic shit because you don't like side content.
yeah, yeah. So I will say that we're not doing any EV training of any kind.
Oh, you're
Um,
not.
although I know all about that stuff, I still consider myself like a casual player. I don't EV train typically.
You don't
Um,
shiny hunt, which
and
is boring as fuck. I don't know how people stand doing it. I
I
kind of understand, but it's just too frustrating to me.
yeah, and I know GK is not going to be doing that either. He wouldn't even know where to begin unless you
With
guys
shiny
tell him
hunting,
how.
I don't care about that.
Oh
But
no,
EV
no, more about
training,
EV. Yeah, EVs will make you more powerful. So there will be none of that.
oh,
He's going to
okay
go
then.
and do it
How?
behind
But
my
how would
back.
you even know if I EV trained?
Oh, I'll know. I'll know based on your move sets.
And according to John, EV IV training has gotten much easier. I think it was a
Oh,
real
really?
pain in the ass to understand back in the day because the game never really
It
told
was.
you.
It was. There was a lot of math involved, and it was so tricky. I did not know that it got easier. That's
There's like
interesting.
so many nuances to Pokemon. The game is obviously a children's game made for children. But they add some of these like really like under the hood stuff. But I I mean, I don't know. Obviously I don't know, the games have always been very kiddie. Like I kind of feel like there could be a very interesting story to tell in the world of Pokemon, but from what I understand, like all the games stories are like very bare bones. There's like a criminal organization, there's like a league of of gym leaders. Which, how do they regulate the gym leaders? Because Giovanni is in the first game is the last gym leader before the Elite Four. He's the leader of Team Rocket. So why is there a known criminal in the official and sanctioned Pokemon League? How well regulated is that league?
Yeah, clearly not. Yeah, I mean, most games follow that exact thing with criminal organizations. And honestly, I stopped paying attention to Pokemon stories a long time ago, so I'm not going to be paying attention to that.
And why don't they ever bring up what Team Rocket actually does? They do Pokemon trafficking. Is that like too risky of a thing for kids to like hear? Hey, Daddy, what's trafficking?
Yeah,
Oh,
definitely not going to be bringing that up.
yeah. Or what do they eat in the Pokemon world? Do they eat the Pokemon?
They eat berries.
No. People, like there's meat
Oh,
and shit.
oh.
You can make sandwiches in this game, and they have ham. There's a new pig Pokemon, and I said, is there do they make that ham from pig Pokemon?
That's really funny, but interesting that you can make sandwiches. I really hope that doesn't take into the gameplay, because I don't want to have to eat to, get at some sort of advantage. To me, that I don't like games that do that.
Oh, give me one sec. Continue.
Yeah, whoever said that you can make sandwiches now, do you know if that's part of the the actual gameplay? Like, is that a necessity, required part of it? Okay, not. It looks like it's not part of the gameplay at all. Yeah, I mean, I'm an old school Pokemon fan, so for me, a lot of the new stuff, I usually don't. Anything that wasn't part of the original games, I don't like it as much. I still appreciate some changes, but
Sorry about that. I'm still like in the process of moving shit in my downstairs apartment. All right. Oh, and I should bring up someone did T-Trax, which, by the way, T-Trax, how you doing? Where did your comment go? I lost it because we actually did a gym leader thing. It was Smash, and we ranked us based on skill level. I wound up being Giovanni in this Smash league, and I remember we made a like a little game out of like finding minions, and I talked about how I was the last gym leader of the official and sanctioned Pokemon League, and also the leader of a criminal organization. Figure that the fuck out. I don't know. It was a funny moment.
it's for somebody that's never played any Pokemon games. I find it funny that you know so much about the gym leaders and the criminal organizations.
Well, I did watch the anime. I did watch some of the movies, which gives you some insight on that. And I do watch a lot of YouTube videos that talk about the Pokemon games.
That would be a good iceberg to make as Pokemon, I think.
There a lot of people made icebergs on that.
I'm sure.
And I don't know much about the series, so I wouldn't be the one to do it. It's if you look up Pokemon icebergs, you'll find some good ones there.
Right. Yeah.
And Golf brought up, is there a way to first each other in older game using ROMs? There is. It could be a little cumbersome. However, I think if we were to, outside of the new games, we could just do Pokemon Showdown. That would be like really easy. Like we just pick. We can also do random battles where we get a random team. There's a lot of other things we can do. Also Pokken, which is a fighting game. I don't know. I don't know if that might be a funny one-off.
Yeah, I remember. So I've when it came to Nintendo, for me, I was always big into their handheld games. I never actually owned a physical, like a console of Nintendo. I remember going over a friend's house and going. There was a Pokemon game for console that you used to get. Each of you used to get a completely random team. I want to say it was Pokemon Stadium. Does anybody know what I'm talking about?
Oh, I don't know. I think
it was probably Stadium.
Stadium was like what Showdown would eventually turn into, because that was where you can just sort of pick your Pokemon if you want,
yeah,
and then verse people.
I liked the random aspect of that, just giving you a random team. I mean, Then I guess it's a coin flip who wins because whoever has the better team. But
Yeah, I know in Showdown, like you can do a pure random where our teams can be on balance as fuck, and they also have like a balanced rando where they make sure our teams line up in terms of like effectiveness. But
yeah,
it's interesting. Like you really got to think on your feet and understand Pokemon. Like the whole typing thing is not super complicated, but it's like some of them you kind of want to have like a flow chart ready. I think Psychic in the early gens used to be OP as fuck because they had no real weaknesses. Now they gave the Psychic types the common fear weakness of bugs, dark, and I forget what the third one was. Ghosts. Yes.
yeah,
Yeah. Well, a lot of things like that.
yeah. I mean, Pokemon has always had that kind of those kind of issues.
Yeah,
They made it a lot
and
better, but
a little bit of balancing. Like I think if you bring in an old Pokemon, I mean, not all Pokemon are compatible, but some Pokemon were changed or rebalanced in a way, and or they had different movesets. So you bring an old Pokemon from an older game to a new one with Pokemon
they,
Home.
from what
They
I've seen in Pokemon
sometimes,
Home, they don't allow you to use the old moves. A lot of the time, they'll disable the move set.
and according to Goff, Psychic stomped in yellow because Ghost type couldn't hurt them because of a game glitch. Wow, that sounds like a big deal.
Yeah,
Well,
I don't remember that glitch. I didn't own yellow. I owned red and blue. So
yeah, and John also brought up. I remember dragons types used to be a big deal until like the fairy type came around to counter the dragons, which
right,
is interesting. Like to try to balance things out.
yeah, they did make
I
the
don't
new.
do other than fires or any other typing that you're personally fond of that I totally
I've
won't to keep in mind when building my team.
I've always specialized in two different attributes. I'm not going to say the other one now because now I realize I got to be careful about what I say.
Wait,
You'll use it
what?
against me.
No, the audience wants to know. I revealed mine. Fire psychic. I like fire psychic.
But you're not going to be using that. You
I
already said
probably will.
uh, you're going for the weed cat, which I believe is green, right? It's
Dark.
grass.
It's
No,
it's
but
grass dark.
grass dark. Okay.
I
Yeah,
know what
I'm
yours
gonna.
is. Do you know what yours turns into? The
No,
fire
I don't
type?
know. I don't know anything about the new Pokemon. I haven't looked into them, and I'm
Okay.
gonna keep it that way. Yeah.
Good. Okay, good.
My guess is that it's weak to dark. So.
Yeah, it's all the secondary typings of the final evolution counter each other opposite. So, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
interesting. That's
Yeah,
I
yeah.
like that. I like that. That's smart.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I can't
it's
tell
an
you.
interesting balancing.
I can't tell you how many times in the other games when the rival picks the opposite, the one that hurts you more, that you're weak against, where they just
No, I thought the
destroy
rival
you
always
later.
picked the one that's weak to you.
No, I think they picked the one that's strong to you. Later on, there would be two different rivals where it's like you see all three
Oh yeah,
in
I
the
think
more
in the
recent
very
games.
original, this is like from what I learned from like the Pokemon videos. In the original, the rival picks the type that's weak against you to actually be easier for you. However, in the original game code, you were supposed to fight Professor Oak as like the true final boss with an insanely strong team. He picked the starter that you were weak against. So
Yeah,
that's how that. But that was cut from the game. You can access it through glitching or
yeah,
hacking, but the actual way to initiate the fight is not there, which was an
yeah,
interesting idea.
yeah. I've seen that glitch before. There's so many glitches in the original game. Like you can actually get Mew through multiple means. Um,
The missing no, you remember that shit?
yeah, missing no. That was the most fun that I ever had was trying to do missing no glitches.
Or bringing missing no into Pokemon Stadium or into future generations.
Yeah, yeah. There was so many rumors about missing no because remember there was no internet, so often you would have the kids on the playground saying like, "Oh, it'll delete your save file if you have it."
Nintendo said that like to because they don't want people
Yeah,
to utilize these glitches that are it
yeah,
did screw things up in your game. Like it screwed up I think your Hall of Fame. It didn't I
yeah.
don't think it corrupted your save, and it also
No,
gave you infinite like items in slot number 6 or something
slot
really
number
weird
6.
like that.
Yep, yep. I remember specifically trying to put the master ball in slot number 6.
That is so cheap. I wonder, do you still get Master Balls in the new one, or like also, and just thinking the idea that you play a kid like a 10-year-old going out. I feel like the world of Pokemon, you would probably be like in your 20s when you do that kind of shit at least, but I don't know. Maybe
Yeah.
it's just like they're trying to
Isn't
target
it
the kids, make the
isn't
kids
it
feel like they're
funny?
in the world.
Isn't it funny that they're, the kid's 10 and he's going up against a bunch of adults like Gambler and there's a
Yeah,
biker gang.
there's actually a meme I saw in, I don't know how it works in game, but I think there's a trainer you fight a few times and he's like a grown ass guy with a job who's like a salary man, but he also he does Pokemon on the side. And I think the implication is that he's the man-child audience of Pokemon series.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Also, like a lot of the gyms you fight, I feel like they wind up being easy. But if your Pokemon level up, wouldn't the gyms also level up to a ridiculous degree because they fight so many people? Or do they like hold their Pokemon back? How does that work?
Yeah, that's a great point. They're always fighting people all day. That's their job, where they literally just fight people all day.
How much do they get
Shouldn't their
paid to
Pokemon?
do that shit?
Yeah, shouldn't their Pokemon be level 100 by now? Yeah.
Also, like these Pokemon have crazy powers. I feel like they would get hurt pretty bad and die a lot. Like Rattata in Gen 1. You kill your rival's Rattata. The Rattata is fucking dead in the first game.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's alluded to. They never confirmed that.
Well, I think Nintendo said that that wasn't the case. But
No,
it's funny
no,
to
that's
think
not
of.
what
There's a
they.
lot of
That's not what
things.
they intended. But there's a lot of dark theories out there.
Yeah. There's a lot of darkness that could be had in the Pokemon world, but then they remember that it's a kids game for kids and they have to not make it so scary. I remember, I think I saw in the manga, Pokemon manga adaptation, one thing is that there was a ghost Pokemon that possessed the corpse of another Pokemon that was dead, and it was like a zombie kind of thing. It was kind of dark, and I think Pokemon actually did kill each other occasionally in
Well,
the manga, but
they have that in
obviously
the
not.
original. They have that in the original game, Lavender Town.
Oh yeah, the Cubone who wears the skull of
Yeah,
his mother, which is all sorts of fucked up.
yeah, yeah. So the original games are kind of dark at some points.
Also, like when these Pokemon attack people, like you go out in the wild, and then if you don't get your Pokemon out quickly, and you wouldn't you just get like, because these Pokemon are like crazy powerful. Like these children going off in the woods alone, how many of them wind up dead?
Yeah, I see that you really like to focus on the dark aspect of this.
Well, wouldn't you be terrified in the Pokemon world with how crazy powerful these things are? Like the like just some of their abilities.
Yeah, yeah, uh, absolutely. I mean, it's a lot going
Uh,
on.
according to John, Legends Arceus alludes to that. I don't know what is that in like a main series game or is that like one of the side games?
That's the most recent game before this one.
Okay. Yeah, I also find it kind of weird that they introduced the literal god of Pokemon. It just that seems like a little bit of a jump the shark moment to me.
I
Oh, and
actually did
Endless
not
did bring
like.
up entry
I did not
Pokedex
like
entries.
Legend Arceus because they changed like kind of how the battle system works and how you capture Pokemon. I did not like that.
And it's weird. Oh, do you remember the Pokemon Go craze?
Yes, how could I forget?
I at the time, like I was just so disinterested because this seemed like a real gotcha thing. You couldn't really truly battle, at least early on. I remember like there was a big like Pokemon fever. I remember at my
Yeah,
job there was like some rare Pokemon that appeared in the parking lot, and like over half of the building. Which keep in mind at the time I worked at a cable company that was a corporate headquarters, and like a lot of the high level executives, everyone in my department, they all left to get this stupid Pokemon. And I was one of the few people who remained to like continue working. And I remember that the CEO was so pissed when that happened. Oh god, but he couldn't punish everyone because almost everyone did it, but it was funny. And also like there were some like good things for people going out, meeting and talking with people playing Pokemon Go. There's also some really shitty things like people setting up like a Pokemon stop in an alleyway where they would set up to rob people and steal their phones.
that's hilarious. I didn't know they did that, but yeah, I can remember specifically like you'd see bars advertising or even restaurants or whatever, and they say, "Oh, I have a
They
Pokemon
make it a
stop
Pokemon
here."
stop. I forget what it
Yeah,
was. Like you make Pokemon stops. Like a lot of
I
notable. places of meat like restaurants, they turned into Pokemon stops.
I liked the idea of Pokemon Go, and it was definitely a Pokemon fever again. Where it was like what I remember from Pokemon Red and Blue, where
Yeah, it started with Gen
everybody
1.
played. Yeah, everybody was playing Pokemon again, and yeah, I mean that was a good time. They did eventually add the ability to make your Pokemon Go Pokemon able to transfer to the latest games. So I like that
Wait,
aspect.
what? Wait. You can take Pokemon from Pokemon Go into the main games? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, yeah. So for example, if once they finally add Go support, or excuse me, home support, I can take my Pokemon Go Pokemon into Violet and Scarlet.
Huh, that sounds
In
weird.
fact,
Eh.
in fact, that's how I got a few of my shinies. A few of my shinies came from Go, and they're now in Home. So
I didn't even know
I
Go had shinies.
yeah, yep. So I like that.
How do you calculate the stats from that? Yeah, how does that even work? Like, do Pokemon even have like
They
stats or
No, the stats are
or
all
move
different. They
sets?
have, I think they have
According to T Tracks, they nerfed them.
yes, yeah, they're not the same at all. So don't expect your Pokemon to be powerful, but it's to get some of the cool ones, and it's easier to shiny hunt. At least for me, it's been in Go.
Is it? Is it
Yeah,
still like 1 out of 4,000 or whatever
I don't
crazy
I don't think that's the
odds?
case in Go, because I've always found it easy to find shinies in Go. So that's where I get my shinies from.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I still couldn't be bothered to shiny hunt. Also, I kind of wish there are some Pokemon that are like this in the new one. I wish there was more color variants, non-shiny color variants of Pokemon, or at least some unique looks.
I
There's
hate
this.
the variants.
Yep. Why?
Because so for example, there's I forgot the name of the Pokemon, but it's like a cake. I think it's called Slurpuff or something in the most recent games, and she comes in like so many different flavors because she's a puff pastry, and that drives me nuts because I feel that I have to collect all of them because I'm trying to get the whole Pokedex complete. So it makes me feel
Uh,
like I have to collect all of them, and I hate
isn't
that
the Dex
feeling.
just the Pokemon, the one Pokemon? Like, you don't need
It
to collect every
is. It
variance.
is, but if you want to get like the complete Pokédex where you say to yourself like, "Oh, I've seen everything," then you if you're like that, you have to find them all. And that's
And
I hate that.
John saw
Yes,
Alacrime, or however you say
that's the
that.
name. That's the name. Thank you. Um
I
just
don't
just
even like
just annoying.
necessarily think they need to have a lot of variants. I think just some slight color
There's
changes,
there's another
like
one that has I want to say like 26 different variants. Like that's crazy. I don't want
well,
that.
there's one Pokemon,
Unknown.
and John brought it up. The Spinda. Spinda is like one that has unique patterns. That's what I mean. Not necessarily a different variant, just a different looking color and
Now
some
that
slightly different splotches, just so you can have
I
like a
did
somewhat unique looking Pokemon.
I did not know Spinda had different patterns. That's interesting.
Oh yeah, that
Okay.
was like the main gimmick of Spinda. Is that the
That's cool.
spots on Spinda are different. And that's
That's
why
very
I
cool.
wish there was more Pokemon that had slightly different
I
colors or patterns.
I do like a little attention to details. Like Pikachu has a different tail, whether it's a boy or a girl. Little things
Oh
like
yeah.
that I like.
Oh, as Golf pointed out, the male female variants, which does make sense
Yeah.
for the animal kingdom. That plus just like different color variants in general that are non-shiny.
Hello?
Death Row? Hello.
Yeah. I don't know what happened. Lost internet for a second there.
Okay. Well, yeah. Just shiny is an interesting concept, but it always pissed me off how difficult it was. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't even know about Chinese until very recently. I That's how little I ever found one in the real Pokemon games.
Not to mention, if you're like me and you never really played Pokemon, you could just walk past a shiny and not even know it, because you pass a lot of Pokemon in this game, and there's bad popping. Like that would really suck, because they
Well,
don't, in this
well,
version they don't glint. The shinies don't glint. You don't know.
oh, okay. That's interesting. Yeah, I mean, I do like the changes they made where now you can see the Pokemon like running through the grass and stuff. Don't forget, back in the day, you used to have to walk through the grass and then you'd find, randomly a Pokemon in that area.
Oh yeah,
Now you
they were
can
like
kind of see
they
it was a
weren't
complete
random
random event.
battles like an RPG. That was that was also annoying too. I never really liked that in
Yeah.
the original.
That's a great change. I love that change.
Hmm. Yeah, it'd be a little bit more interesting. Also, like another weird gameplay mechanic is the fact that in order to catch these Pokemon, they got to be weak, but you could knock them out. Wouldn't it be easier to catch a knocked out Pokemon? Why do they just
See,
disappear from existence?
that's part of like the risk reward. That's what I love. You know,
For
it's like, oh,
gameplay reasons, it makes sense,
be
but it's
careful.
frustrating. Like, what if you're trying to catch a shiny? You deliberately pick a Pokemon that's not super effective. You use a move to like bring down its health a bit, but then you accidentally get a crit and you kill the fucking thing. How frustrating would that be?
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's part of the risk reward. That's the fun of it.
If it was me and if it was like a shiny, I would probably be wasting all of my reserve Pokeballs if I have enough, just trying to catch a full health. Because I do know there's an RNG factor that you can catch a full health
Yeah,
Pokemon depending
yeah,
on the
yeah.
Pokemon. Oh, fun story. When we were doing our Radio Shack Pokemon thing, I forget what that Pokemon was called. The one with the spoons, Alakazam or whatever. I think that's the final evolved
Yes,
form. But the the
yes.
the the one that's the stage
Ca-
one, that
Kadabra and Abra.
Kadabra. That thing teleports around and is hard to catch. When I ran into it the first time, I threw a normal Pokeball and caught it outright, just out of the blue.
That's hard to catch because it keeps teleporting out of battle.
Yeah, I got super lucky with that. But that one you can't fully evolve without trading. So, but it was like cool that I got that. And there's like all these different Pokeball types, and that's like a whole nother thing. How do they even make the Pokeballs? Because I think in the anime there was an episode where they address it and it was like made out of nuts, but it can't just be that. It's got
Well,
to be like
that's
advanced
yeah, that's
technology.
later on in Gen 2 they had Kurt who used to make the Pokeballs, and he
Whatever
had a
happened to the
whole little
GS
story.
ball?
The GS ball. That sounds so familiar. Was that
That was a story mechanic from the anime that was supposed to work into the movie with Celebi, but then they dropped it. And then Ash
interesting?
dropped off the GS ball and they never addressed it.
That's really
But
funny. I
fun little
didn't know
side
that.
thing. That I learned that from some videos talking about the Pokemon series. I do remember the GS ball episodes.
I do
And
remember,
being
yeah.
interested.
I do remember them talking about it. I was like, "Wait, where do I know that from?"
Oh yeah, and the Savari Zone, which was an interesting thing, is like, why exactly do they
I
set up an area where you can't fight the Pokemon? You can only try to catch them.
I
But
I
then
want to
it's
say
like,
Safari Zone is very different now. At least it was in Sword and Shield, though.
it's just like a weird concept.
I hate the
Like
concept. I hated that.
it, yeah, it was annoying, and it was like a big
Where they could
RNG
just
fest.
Yeah, yeah. It's like the people can or the Pokemon can just run away, and you have no control over it. It's just very annoying.
Yeah, and like, why would they be concerned about people battling these Pokemon when people just battle Pokemon constantly in the world, and it's no big deal? Is in the world of Pokemon, is there like laws that regulate that you can't be too rough with the Pokemon, like Pokemon abuse or what? There's a lot of weird like questions about it.
Yeah, you ask all these like crazy questions of it. I have never even thought of these things. I simply just say, "Oh, I want to collect them all," and that's all I do. I just play
Also,
them.
it seems like almost everyone's involved or likes Pokemon in the Pokemon world. What if you're a kid that's 10 and they say, "Oh, you can go and catch Pokemon now." What if you don't give a shit about Pokemon? What if you just want to like go to school and like learn shit and you don't care? I remember, like, this is sort of going off on a
Then you
tangent,
could
but
be
I
like
remember that
Brock.
there was an episode of Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, I think that was about this. There was some kid who didn't give a shit about Yu-Gi-Oh! And he was treated as like so weird. Everyone was so shocked. Was there ever an episode of Pokemon that's like
Well,
that?
Brock was like a Pokemon researcher. He didn't want to like capture the Pokemon. He just wanted to
No,
research
wait,
them.
Brock was a gym leader.
He was, but then he
You,
became he gave that up in like the first few episodes of
but the
the
life
show.
still revolves around Pokemon in some way. And I don't who I'm trying to remember
Yeah.
who May was. May initially. Well, oh, May was one of the protagonists, right? Did she have the
No.
Torchic
Yeah, yeah.
that turned into a Blaziken? I think I. That's when I started to stop watching Pokemon. I think was what with May.
Yeah.
I don't know. These anime characters blend together. I have no fucking clue. Also, Ash. I don't know if you know this, but Ash just recently became the Pokemon champion, the Pokemon World Champion in the anime.
Just now?
Recently, yeah, the last season, he actually succeeded and became champion.
Took long enough. Wow.
Yeah, he's still 10. He had a very eventful single year. He went to so many regions, caught so many Pokemon, went through numerous seasons of the year multiple times, very
Well,
strangely,
what
and it's
what
been a single
happened
year.
What happened in season 1 when he beat the Elite Four? Is he not champion from that?
Well, no, I think he kept losing. Like he got like he became runner
Oh,
up or
okay.
lost to the champion. Like he always just narrowly missed until recently where he
Interesting.
actually became champion.
Yeah, I mean, for me, keep in mind back then, if you missed the new episode of the show, let's say it was on a
Good
Saturday
luck
morning,
finding it.
yeah, forget it. You were never watching that again. So
To be fair, it they did not have too much of a continue. There was a little bit with him going to the regions and getting the badges, but
yeah,
like a majority of the episodes were standalone, and they always allude to like him getting the badges, so you would know that he eventually did succeed. Or you just buy those VHS tapes.
yeah, exactly. Where each VHS tape would have only 2 episodes on it.
I remember that. I remember watching the same 2 episodes multiple times, and the only episode I remember having on a VHS was the Pokeland when they still didn't reveal Giovanni and they got trapped in the original Dynamax. There was giant Pokemon and they were scary, but they were just robots and all that.
Oh,
That was
yep,
an
I
early
remember that.
episode.
That was part of the intro song. They showed off those giant
Oh
robots.
yeah. Oh yeah, the intro. They had some good intro. Pokemon in general has some pretty good music. The theme, one of the main themes from this current game. I listened to it. Sounds pretty catchy. I think it was like
Okay.
the theme from your academy. Which, by the way, you're in a Pokemon academy. Which a whole academy just dedicated to Pokemon. Do they actually learn math and like English and shit? Do they learn any real subjects, or is it all just about Pokemon?
I don't know. You tell me. I won't be paying attention to the story.
According to John, Ash beat Orange Island's champion. Oh wait, actually, I
Yeah,
remember that. Wasn't that like
that's
not like he was a regional like person who had a Dragonite, and
that's what
he
I
had
was
different.
referencing.
Yeah, he had that. I think it was like every person who beat that guy got their photo taken and put in their hall of people who beat this guy. But I don't think he was like the world champion. He was like a regional champion who had a Dragonite, and I don't know why I remember this. That he had stricter rules, like he had to keep his Pokemon that he called out, but the trainer challenging him could swap Pokemon in and out at will. There was like different rules to make it harder for the main guy because he had such a strong team.
Interesting.
I don't know.
Or Orange Island is where I actually stopped watching, which is I'm pretty sure season 2. So I stopped pretty early on.
Barra says, of course they teach math. They got to teach a kid how much money to pay when they got whooped. Oh yeah, when you beat a trainer, they give you money. So like, do you gamble every time you fight Pokemon? Where is the kids getting their initial money from? Like, kids probably don't have a good idea of like economics. So like, how much do you want to bet that they overcharge these kids for the Pokeballs to make a profit, or
You know,
or heals and repels and all these items?
yeah, I remember specifically one time I was playing Pokemon and I kept losing these battles to the point that I actually ran out of money. So I completely didn't have any money anymore, and it made the game a lot harder to play. Um,
I wonder if the pharmaceutical companies that made the heals and full restores, if they had to deal with the Pokemon League to like not have any near the Elite Four, just so they have to go back and buy a shit ton before you fight them.
uh, there are some people that I want to say it's called the Nuzlocke challenge, where if a
Oh yeah,
Pokemon dies in battle, that means you have to release it. It's like, you're
that
trying
sounds
to
like a pain
pretend.
in the ass.
Yeah, it's trying to pretend like, oh, it died in real life. Um,
Yeah, I think there's also more rules to it. Like you have to catch like the first Pokemon in like a region, but then it's almost like a roguelike, kind of.
yeah,
But it that just sounds like, I guess if you're really good at Pokemon, it makes sense to you, but it just sounds really frustrating to me that you're kind of stuck with a particular team and then you could easily get crit and then lose everything. It sounds frustrating, but I guess it's like a one run through. And if you fail, you try again. Imagine finding a shiny in the middle of your Nuzlocke run.
yeah, yeah. I don't know. I've never been one for the challenges. I just kind of play the game as it's intended, and I don't know. I have fun. So Pokemon's always been super fun.
Yeah, well, hopefully I can beat you, and then we got that nice punishment lined up. So,
Yeah, I mean, it'd be nice if you told me what the punishment was.
well, Does anyone in chat want to know what it is?
Of course they want to know. Come on, guys. Annoy him. Egg him on. Tell him
What
that
if
he
we make
has
it?
to
What if
say
we
it.
make it a reveal halfway through our challenge?
Oh, yeah. Let's. We don't even know what's at stake, or I don't even know what's at stake in said challenge.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Oh, John brought up kids buy that Magikarp for 500. I remember that was also a thing in the anime too. Like that episode with James got ripped off by a guy who sold him a Magikarp.
Right.
Then he abused the Magikarp, kicking it into the ocean when they
I believe in that episode, wasn't there a golden Magikarp or something?
I think
I think that was part of the episode. There was like something like a golden Magikarp, which was an
I don't
odd
remember.
concept to me that there was a, this is probably like the first like shiny in the anime, right?
Does he? I know that there are shiny Pokemon in the anime, but do they ever say the words "it's a shiny" or "it's of a rare color"? I think it's just shiny Pokemon show up and they don't address that it's a unique coloring. They only do that occasionally to just to sort of mix things up. I think the first shiny I remember is that Ash caught some owl Pokemon and it was a shiny, and I got used to what the shiny looked like. So when I found out in the game, it was like a very basic color. Oh, Ash's Butterfree wasn't shiny, but Ash's Butterfree wanted to have relations with the shiny one. I remember that actually. Yeah, that was an early shiny. That pink Butterfree that wanted, that Ash's Butterfree wanted to have relations with.
Great point. I know what you're talking about. They never allude to it being shiny in the anime, though.
It's just a different color for the audience to see, but the people in the world don't bring it up.
Yeah, that's interesting. Very cool.
Oh man, trying to think if there's anything else we want to address. I mean, we covered a lot of things.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a fun challenge. I can't wait for my games to come in, and then we can go on with it.
Yeah, we haven't not locked down a date yet, and also like how frequently we're playing. When you do get your games, I guess we'll try to find dates that we'll play it, because now our schedules are going to line up with my new job. Is hopefully going to be similar hours to you, because you have a normal 9 to 5 now. I have a normal 9 to 5.
Yeah, that'll help a lot. For everybody in the chat, I ordered my games through my local library. Yes, you can actually order games through the library. Nobody actually realizes that.
They're free.
Yeah, they're free. So I get to rent the
games
for a few weeks,
and you gotta wait.
Free. That's actually how I've always played my. That's how I played almost all my games. So, yeah, we're kind of just waiting for the games to be delivered, and then we can start the challenge. GK, have you purchased your copy yet, or?
Well, I'm just gonna get the digital one. When you get yours, I'll just get it on the Switch and download it.
Okay, very cool, very cool. Yeah, and I'm curious how the worlds work. Like me being able to be in your world, or you can be in my world.
Oh, wait, do you have the online? Yeah, I think you need the online subscription. I think
they make you pay
I'd
for
assume
online now. Wow.
Yeah, Nintendo makes you pay. It's cheaper than like Xbox or PlayStation Plus. I think for the base level for online is like $20 a year. I don't know if that changed.
Yeah.
But
no, I
don't know.
Yeah, I don't have.
We don't necessarily have to do that, but it'll be
right.
Wait a minute. If we want to verse each other, I think we do.
Does anybody know the answer to that? Do you have to have the online to verse each other?
I'm like 99.9% sure.
I guess that would make sense.
Oh, you get a 7-day free trial, but we have to fight each other over multiple chances. So
yeah,
unless you can find like a 1 to 3 month.
Well, I didn't pay for any of that in Sword and Shield though, and I definitely did online. So I'm.
Oh, did you? Did you actually do battling? Because trading is different than the battling.
Oh, maybe that's why I did trading. But I'm pretty sure
trading is different.
They have raid battles in that, and I did a bunch of raid battles.
I don't know. If anyone knows if like Pokemon has an exception, like if there's an exception for Pokemon where you don't need the online, I guess I'll make things easier for us.
It would, yeah, because I did a bunch of raid battles. Now, Raid battles are not you battling a trainer though. They're you battling like a giant Pokemon together.
I
Like,
think that's a thing. I don't know. I don't know.
yeah, that was a ton of fun. Hopefully they still have that.
Online battling is needed. Do you mean the online subscription?
Probably, I'm imagining that's what they mean.
Oh. Oh, you would need to get the $20 plan. Yeah, it's only $20 at least.
I have $5 on my account. I wonder if there's like a 3-month plan or anything.
I do not know. Ideally this wouldn't take us too. Although this game's kind of long. I think on how long to beat it was like, what was it, like 20 something hours? I have to look it up again. But I think this Pokemon game was a bit longer than some of the others.
Interesting.
At least in terms of finishing, not completing. Completing is like a whole nother thing. The decks, fucking forget about it.
Yeah. The decks usually Pokemon Home helps a lot with that. So,
well, not yet.
I wonder if they have a release date set for that yet.
They said spring.
Spring.
That's all they said.
It's very generic.
If you do gyms, it'll breeze by. Oh, okay. Just the gyms. And what about the end game? Do you have to do like a lot of extra shit to get past the end game and the whatever the equivalent of the Elite Four and the champion is, or whatever? Or what is there? I assume there's a bad guy organization in this game. Like, do you have to like deal with their people or whatever?
I'm sure every single game always has some sort of hideout that you have to infiltrate and get past. So I'm sure it'll be part of it.
I also love how the criminals follow the rules of Pokemon. Because they either do one-on-ones or team battles or Pokemon of 6. Why don't they just, like, if they're criminals, they just release all their Pokemon as a big horde to overwhelm the other trainers? Why do they follow the rules of Pokemon?
Yeah, that's a great point.
Team Star aren't really bad guys. Okay. Well, I guess maybe we'll see how it goes.
So what is there? No antagonists of the game? Is it just everybody's friendly, everybody's nice? This is the happiest
Elite
game
Four
ever made.
before Endgame. Oh, that's it? Oh, well, yeah, that's what we were going to do naturally. All right, then. Well, I don't know if anyone else has anything else to bring up. Do you have any other random thoughts about them Pokemons?
No, not for me. I'm excited to kick your ass in it and do whatever the punishment is. Are you so sure? Don't worry, I'll make sure that I win.
Okay, you better not be stream sniping me.
No,
you said you wanted to try streaming again, and this would have been a good opportunity, but you don't have an easy means to capture a console game. So, so you'll be playing on your own. How do I know you're not going to be like grinding up and not telling me, or researching the best team?
I could. You never know. I'm sure you're going to be doing that. So,
what makes you think that? Hey, I'm going to be out there in the open. Everyone's going to see what I do.
Yeah,
and they'll report if I'm
for everybody on this call. Yeah, for everybody on the stream, you better make sure that you're not telling him any like secrets or ways that will help him win, because that'll.
Hey, I can have a little bit of coaching. I encourage backseat gaming.
No coaching, because then I'll be guaranteed to lose.
No, you won't. You're so good. I'd kick you. Yeah, that's the thing, is the meta. Like, there's a lot of Pokemon I think look cool that I would want, but maybe ineffective. There's a lot of Pokemon I think would be good, but there's probably a meta reason why they are not used a lot. So it's.
I almost always pick my team based on looks. So if a Pokemon looks cool, I'll somehow get it to work.
I'm gonna keep an eye on the typings and try to have somewhat balanced team, but there are just Pokemon I think look cool that I would want, even if they may not be necessarily great.
Yeah, I know I've seen the bike Pokemon. That's actually the only Pokemon I've seen is the bike Pokemon.
Well, you get that. It's a pocket.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah. To
pocket
me, that looks
legendary.
so like dopey that I wouldn't want that in my team.
I think that doesn't join your team until certain point in the game. By default, you can't battle with it. Someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that thing only joins your team after a certain point. I don't know.
The one thing that I will mention is I do love how they finally have changed the hidden machines, the HMs, where you don't have to have a Pokemon have that ability anymore in your party.
I don't even understand that. That concept
So like
eludes me. The TMs, the HMs.
yeah, for like back in the day, if you wanted to use fly to fly from city to city, you had to have a Pokemon in your party that had wings and could fly and had to know the ability fly. So it literally took up one of their 4 techniques.
Oh yeah, I heard
So
of the concept of like an HM slave or something. You have a Pokemon that
HM
just
slave, yeah. You used to literally have an HM slave take up your one of
a
your
beast of
slots, one of your
burden.
6 slots. Yeah. So I'm glad they got rid of that. You don't have to have the HM slave anymore.
Well, at least Fly was a decent move.
Fly was okay,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah, the fact
If you
that
had
I
something
think
like
there was a couple old games where you can accidentally soft lock yourself in certain situations if you like
I think it's hard to do
release a.
that, but
It
probably.
is, but it was possible. Like I that those are like weird gamey things. Like I think you needed cut to cut grass or a tree or something. I don't know. It's like a lot of little things.
Yeah, yeah. Cut was a big one, which that move sucked. Rock Smash, that move sucked. So yeah, there were some HMs that were just terrible.
Yeah, and also I think with the new games there's like XP sharing, so you don't have to grind each Pokemon specifically. Because the version we played, it was like old school where you had to train each Pokemon, and it was a pain in the ass.
Usually what would happen is my Charizard would be level like 50 and then everything else would be level 30. So that's usually how that went.
Mm. Well, with XP sharing, when you have your desired team, it's kind of easy to bring them up. But by that
Yeah.
same token, it might be harder for us to line up our levels exactly right because if we drop a Pokemon, bring it in, then we sort of raise them up to a certain degree. I don't know. We'll figure it out. There's a way to do this.
Yeah. Should be fun though.
Hmm. And I look forward to proving that the first time player can beat the longtime fan's ass.
Yeah, it's like a real episode of the anime. Let's see how it plays out.
Yes, I'm the protagonist. You're that asshole Gary Oak.
Gary Oak. Should I name myself Gary Oak? I'll name myself Gary. I
Or
actually
Blue.
I always noticed nobody else seems to do this, but I always have named myself after the title of the game. So for example, if I had Scarlet, I would name myself Scarlet. I have done that since the beginning of
That's
time.
unimaginative.
Yeah, I guess. But nobody else seems to do this. I'm surprised. Like, I don't know. To me, I always just found it like, oh, okay, if I have Pokemon Black, I'll name myself Black. I don't know. Just
That sounds very lazy. All right, why not? Why not your screen name, Death Row,
well, Death Row Skater doesn't fit. I guess I could
or
do Death Row.
whatever like just Death Row or
Yeah, I guess I
Death.
could just Death Row. Just Death.
Oh God. Ugh. Oh. Hmm. Oh, I think we covered things quite well. I don't know if anyone in chat wants to chime in with any particular thing.
Yeah, chat, just let us know your thoughts. I imagine we'll probably be doing this sometime this week. Um, so yeah, I mean, it should be fun.
Yeah. Do you have any estimate of when you're gonna get it from the public library?
Uh, usually when you order something, it takes a week. So I would imagine this week.
Okay. But your main game is probably gonna be Scarlet, right?
I ordered both, so it's whatever game comes first. I wanted Scarlet, but you know, I'm at their disposal. It's
I wanted
whatever one comes
Violet.
first. Yeah,
I'm
I
committing to Violet.
I
If
actually
it
originally pre-ordered Scarlet, but I never picked it up.
Pre-ordering is stupid anyway.
Yeah, the reason I don't even have a Switch. I'm using somebody else's Switch. So the reason I didn't pick it up was I was like, if I don't have a Switch, how am I even going to play this? So.
Oh, all right then. Well, yeah. Oh, I wonder, can you share your save file to both versions? Like if you get Violet first, you start with Violet, can you switch to?
Nope.
Oh, you
They work
can't?
on different save files. Yeah, they work on different save files. So you are. I have to basically stick with the one I get first, or the one I just
Ah, damn it.
first play. Yeah. So
I hope there's no differential on how like time in between. I kind of wanted to stick with Violet, and it'd be kind of weird
then
if
if
we're on
that's
the
the
same
case,
version.
if that's the case, then I'll just wait for Scarlet.
All right. Yeah, I think that's fair, and I'm not saying that because there's a certain reason I know that Scarlet might give me an advantage. I don't know.
There we go. See, the chat has already, I'm sure, told you.
No,
Hey,
actually, there really isn't.
Oh,
I just like where the game goes in Violet more aesthetically speaking.
Oh, okay.
Also, I prefer what the pocket legendary looks in Violet than Red Scarlet. I almost said Red, but Scarlet. Have you seen that thing in both versions?
No, see, like that, like I keep it literally everything a secret, so I haven't even seen those.
Well, if it's on the title of the box.
Yeah, that I guess I can look at. Yeah, I can look at the box art. Yeah.
All right. Well,
I can remember looking at like the box art of like the older games, and you'd see what the legendary looks like, and then you see it in game, and it's all pixelated and really doesn't look the same at all.
Well, yeah, you went from full artistic rendition to 16-bit or whatever version you're looking at now. But I feel like the legendaries now are getting like really weird looking designs, or like really stretching it. It's almost making me think it's like more Digimon-esque than Pokemon.
Yeah, yeah. I was actually watching a YouTube video recently about people pulling out their old Digimon cards, and seeing some of those designs today is just takes you back.
They're super anime looking. Pokemon was a little bit more reserved initially in their Pokemon designs. Of course, they got weird going on, but at least there was like a level of simplicity. Now it's like at least the legendaries, they look kind of goofy to me. Like Arceus just looks weird to me. Like, no thanks.
Arceus is not even like newer. That's an older Pokemon.
Well, yeah, but just that kind of design, that over designed kind of look, it just looks weird to me. But there are some Pokemon that have like a more normal look that they're adding to this game.
No,
and I guess
agree
like the Mega evolves. And Goff says Eevee looked like a legit pet. Yeah, Eevee was a Gen 1, and I think like I like the idea of Eevee where it has so many different evolutions, or evolutions as people call it. They don't have every type yet. And I talked about how there's no ghost type Eevee, and I guess they would call it Spectreon. And do you want to know how you would evolve a ghost type Eevee?
Kill it.
Well, sort of. You know how you need certain stones to evolve certain Pokemon, and for Eevees as well. You would take a stone, it's just a literal stone, and you bash the Eevee's head in, and that's how you get the ghost type.
Going dark with it, I say. Yeah, I guess that is how you would do it. That's a great point. They don't have all the different attributes yet for Eevee.
No, I wonder if they'll do a normal type evolution, make it like more like just a bigger version of itself.
I think normal Eevee is a normal type. So
well, yeah, Eevee is a normal type, but what if it evolved into another normal type?
That'd be too boring.
Yeah, probably. That's probably why they wouldn't do it. But it's interesting.
Yeah.
I want like there's not many other Pokemon. There's few Pokemon that do that sort of thing. There are some that have like alternate evolved paths, but Eevee's the one that has like the most variety, to the point where it feels like Eevee should have been more of a mascot. But Eevee's always been a mainstay in the Pokemon world, just like Pikachu. So
yeah, I mean,
guess it's
just
kind of
the most recent remakes of like Red and Blue were Pokemon Pikachu.
Like there's
Eevee,
like Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go
Yeah.
Eevee. That's an alternate version.
Right.
Oh, and yeah, Slowpoke was one that is either Slow Bro or Slow King, which it always seemed like to me that Slow King was notably better than Slow Bro. Also, what happens if the shell falls off a Slowbro? Does it de-evolve into a Slowpoke? Because apparently early on in the Pokemon world, de-evolution was a thing, but I think they dropped that.
Interesting. I remember in an episode in the anime, I want to say that happened where it fell off of its tail.
I don't remember.
So what would happen in that
Also, what happens
scenario?
to
I don't know.
Sheldon? Does a Sheldon just sort of like exist just to balance the Slowpoke to stand up? That's a lame existence. Hmm. Funny thing to think about.
Yeah.
And also, I guess the idea is that you want to hold back evolving your Pokemon because I think some Pokemon learn specific moves if you hold it back, which is annoying. Like, no normal person would know that. Is that still a thing they do with some Pokemon? Like, you need
I
to hold
from
the
what I
evolution back a little bit?
from what I remember in Sword and Shield, that they didn't really do that too much anymore. I do
I
remember,
wasn't
like
a
for
fan of that.
example, like the only way to learn, I don't remember the move set, but probably flame. I think it was flamethrower. You had
A
to keep
powerful flyer move from. Yeah, I
yeah,
remember this. I did this.
you had to keep Charmander like not evolved. You couldn't evolve Charmander. To me, that's stupid. Like, why would you want to do that? You want it to go to Charizard, so why?
And Golf brought up, don't some Pokemon stop learning moves after evolution? Yeah, like that's the thing. Like you have to like hold it back so it can learn more moves for a better like spread. Um, um, and there are some Pokemon that just straight up don't evolve. I think a lot of times they add an evolution after the fact, but there are
Yeah.
I know that there are some. I can't think off the top of my head.
Well,
But
it drives me nuts when they add so many after the fact. Like, not every single Pokemon has to have an evolution.
yeah, I never was a big fan of like the whole concept in general because a lot of times there's a specific form that you like more. If you like the final evolution, you can work towards that. But if you don't like the final evolution, like I don't for the
Yeah.
current starters, you putting yourself at a disadvantage because stat wise, evolving is just they're just stronger more often than not. So
Yeah.
you kind of have to evolve them if you want to be effective.
The big thing in Pokemon for a long time was actually adding like a pre-evolution. Like you originally had Jinx, and then they added Jinx's pre-evolution, or
Pichu
Pichu. Yeah, exactly. Gen 2 did this a
or
lot.
that thing, I forget what it was called, that Hitmonlee and Hitmonchan used to both be standalone Pokemon that
Hitmontop.
didn't evolve.
Yeah,
And
Hitmontop.
Hitmontop. But no, Hitmontop is a side evolution, but there was a Pokemon before all three
Oh,
of them that could
Tyrote.
evolve into
Yeah,
each of them. Yeah. Yeah, before then
Tyrote.
they were standalone Pokemon, but they added a pre-evolution, which is also like kind of
Yeah.
like a weird thing. There's also
Yeah, right.
Plusle and Minel. I don't know how those work.
Yeah, right. Plus a little Minol and yeah, they did that a lot. I, I don't know. When it comes to the originals or older generations, I say just leave them alone.
Some Pokemon are basically gimmicks, yeah. Yeah, I kind of wish there was more Pokemon that just didn't evolve and that just were as is. Just I don't
I
know.
think they just need
It is what it is.
original designs. You know, the original 150 Pokemon, I feel like they were just all very unique. They had original
Well, it was the first
designs.
one. They were simple
Yeah,
and effective.
simple, but really cool. The artwork was always great on them.
They do
I
sometimes
don't know.
get some, but there's some duds in like the later generations, but they do come up with a good idea.
I
But
wouldn't even say
there's only so
some
many
duds. I would
ideas.
say a lot of duds.
Yeah, I mean, I guess at some after we're done, I guess one thing we could do is do a tier list when we finish this of our opinions on the Pokemon designs for all the new ones.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah, because I think there might be some decent looking ones and some really weird, weird ones, but I don't know, something to keep in mind. Hopefully, we remember when we're done with this.
Yeah, and I have a theory that I'm gonna find that a lot of them are very similar to older designs because that's what I had in Sword and
Oh,
Shield.
and
I had
the
noticed that a lot of
regional
them are.
the regional Pokemon, that's like also a new thing, or it's been for a bit now, but they added
Yeah,
regional specific Pokemon with different attributes, like
right,
the
right.
Alolan like surfing Raichu that I think was part psychic. Interesting idea.
Yeah, I know they had a specific slowpoke. I want to say it was like a Lowen region or some region slowpoke
There's a
that.
lot of that.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's a neat thing too.
Meowth. I almost
Meowth
said
had
Mew,
that.
but yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, Meowth had a lone, and I remember that. I think
I think
Meowth actually has a bunch of regionals.
Ponyta had a fairy type that you could get. It was a region specific fairy type.
But yeah, that just adds a complication. But those designs are decent, but they're like just retreading what already existed. So not
Right.
much imaginative, not a very imaginative concept, but a decent
Right.
concept. It does make sense in the world of the regional, like, because a lot of the Pokemon are somehow a parallel of real life animals. Like shinies are supposed to be genetic defects or albinism, which is uncommon, usually most animals. And I guess the regionals is like obviously regional animals that are a little bit different compared to like either European or American or South American or Asian variant of some of these animals are different enough to be notable.
Yeah.
Well,
Yep. Definitely very excited though. Haven't seen any of the designs, so very excited to see them.
yeah. I'm also glad that despite this being short notice, we had a decent showing in chat. So that was good. This was very short notice, and I guess today being Martin Luther King Jr. Day, I just dated this episode, but it being a day off meant that we'll actually had a means to do this. Tomorrow's my new job, by the way, so I gotta train for that,
You must
and
be
then
very nervous.
a little bit, I guess. It's a remote job, so I'll just be sitting here.
Great. Stream it. Stream your new job.
I have NDAs to sign. I can't do that. Whatever. All right, I'm trying to think if there's anything else to bring up before we call it. We've been on for about like an hour and 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Unless there's anything anyone else wants to bring up or any last thoughts you have before we commit. And again, for everyone in our Discord, if you want to give us advice on how to do things, also Deathrow, you should be more involved in the Discord and chat with people on how you thought. I made a whole channel for the Pokemon challenge,
Yeah.
to get people's thoughts on that.
Give your thoughts in the Pokemon channel. I know I'm very bad about it, but it's because I don't get Discord notifications on my phone. I don't know why, but they don't come through on my phone. I'll have to look into as to why that is.
And well, I just check it manually, but I always have to look at it a lot with the
Yeah.
whole streaming
Yeah.
and you also if after the Pokemon thing, if we do the whole podcast thing again, you definitely need to. But we can deal with that later.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll figure it out.
All right. Well, I think we're probably good, right?
Yeah. Thanks for joining, guys. Please give your thoughts on or recommendations on anything.
I'll be streaming my
And
POV.
yep, looking forward to seeing what you guys think.
Yeah, and I just thought it would be interesting, like how often we're going to swap Pokemon, because obviously we're going to fight each other multiple times and we're going to know our team, but how often are we going to change things up or train other Pokemon on the side amongst our main team to sub out?
Yeah, to have like a surprise that we didn't expect. That would be good. That would be smart.
I guess we'll see. All right, well, only recommendation, BG. All right, well, it'll be nice to get some input from the chat as I play. Wink, wink. um,
Yeah, guys, remember, please don't give him any sort of advantages. Don't tell him anything.
you have a huge advantage of like knowing how this game works.
I know how the game works. I don't know how this specific game works. I'm sure they changed a ton of stuff. So,
If you played one Pokemon game, you played them all.
all right. Well, then you've played Fire Red. You were just holding it in your hands. So
We never even fought, and I barely played that thing at all before like just giving up on it because it was in the middle of college and I just did not have the time. Meanwhile, our coworker grinded to shit.
well, we'll see how it goes. We'll see.
All right, well, probably a good place to off on. Yeah, I'll hit up someone with the raid, and yep. And we gotta also we should also like play other games at some point, like Fortune Street. We never got you in on Fortune Street.
Yeah, yeah. Um, after this challenge, we'll do something like that.
All right. Yeah, we'll have more time. We probably don't have a lot of time in general when we're doing this, but when we're done with the Pokemon, which I can't imagine taking too long, then we can.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Oh, did my my window froze for a sec. Anyway, also I think possibly some IRL stuff. Like if you had any interest in Pokken, if I bought it and we can just sort of play local, I think that would be kind of a fun thing. But I don't know. Just something to think about after we're done with this.
All right, yeah. Let's finish this one first, and then we'll brainstorm after that.
And again, any input from anyone watching, let us know in my Discord. I'll catch you all later.
All right, later, guys. Thanks for watching.